1 billion meals wasted daily. Here's how we fix it. Imagine a world where perfectly good food isn't dumped into landfills, but instead nourishes communities in need. The scale of global food waste is immense, but the solutions are even more powerful. In this video, we're not just highlighting the problem, we're diving deep into the ingenious strategies being implemented across the globe to combat this crisis, revealing the inspiring impact they're having on our planet and its people. Why food waste matters, and how big it really is. In March 2024, the UN Environment Programme released the latest food waste index, and the headline is stark. The world wasted about 1.05 billion tons of food in 2022, roughly 19% of all food available. Households are the single largest source, about 60%, with food service and retail making up most of the rest. That translates to 1 billion meals thrown away every day, while hundreds of millions of people go hungry. Wasted food is also a climate issue. From farm to fork, food systems drive a large share of emissions. Within that, food loss and waste contribute about 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gases, nearly 5 times the emissions from aviation. On top of the carbon cost, we squander vast tracts of land and freshwater, and accelerate biodiversity loss when food goes uneaten. When that wasted food ends up in landfills, it decomposes anaerobically and emits methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than CO over the short term. In the United States, EPA's latest accounting finds food is the largest single material in landfills by weight, making up over 24% of landfilled municipal waste. Because it breaks down quickly, it's also the largest source of methane from landfilled materials. The takeaway: preventing food waste is among the fastest, most cost-effective climate and sustainability actions available today. Where and why we lose food. The drivers vary by region and by commodity, but they're well understood. Upstream losses, harvest, handling, storage, dominate in many low and middle-income contexts. Think inadequate cold chains, pest pressure, and spoilage. Downstream waste, retail and households, dominates in wealthier settings. Think oversized portions, buy-to promotions, and confusion over date labels. At every step, there are proven interventions. The rest of this piece explores what's working, backed by science and real-world policy. The framework: target, measure, act. At national and corporate levels, successful programs follow a simple loop. Set a target, measure baselines and hotspots, and act on the biggest causes first. That target, measure, act approach underpins the UK's food waste reduction roadmap and aligns with SDG 12.3, which calls for having per capita food waste at retail and consumer levels by 2030. The US stepped up in June 2024 with a national strategy for reducing food loss and waste, and recycling organics to hit its 2030 goal. A practical implication: you can't manage what you don't measure. So innovators are building tools and laws that make measurement routine and consequential. Innovation from farm to fork. 1. Smart post, harvest, storage, and cooling. Hermetic storage. Simple, airtight triple-layer bags, for example. Purdue, improved crop storage. Picks keep oxygen out and pests at bay, drastically cutting grain losses without insecticides. Solar cold chains. Companies like Cold Hubs in Nigeria deploy solar-powered cold rooms on a pay-as-you-store model, extending shelf life for perishables where grid power is unreliable. Beyond emissions savings, natural refrigerants, solar energy, the model stabilizes incomes for why it works. Microbial spoilage and respiration are temperature-dependent. Delay warm, uncooled produce by just a few hours, and you can have remaining shelf life. Get it into the cold quickly, and shelf life expands exponentially. Low-tech, distributed cooling and sealed storage fix that bottleneck at scale. 2. Packaging, coatings, and freshness indicators. Modified atmosphere packaging map adjusts oxygen and carbon dioxide around fresh food to slow respiration and browning. Edible coatings and time temperature indicators (TTIs) can further extend shelf life and flag abuse in the cold chain, helping retailers and consumers use food before it spoils. 3. AI forecasting, dynamic pricing, and kitchen analytics. In kitchen measurement and AI. Across 32 markets, IKEA installed Winnow AI scales and analytics to track what gets binned and why. Result: a 54% reduction in production food waste, 20 million meals saved, and meaningful emissions and cost reductions. Dynamic pricing markdowns that adapt to time left to sell, move near-date items before they expire. Pairing that with clearer date labels is a proven lever. Why it works? Measurement surfaces patterns, for example, overproduction of specific menu items at specific times. Machine learning translates those patterns into precise prep targets and price cues, aligning supply with real demand. 4. Fixing date label confusion. Confusing date labels drive perfectly edible food into the bin. The UK Food Standards Agency and RAP provide clear guidance. Use by equals safety. Best before equals quality. Updated guidance in July 2025 aims to harmonize labels and on-pack storage. Advice to cut household waste without compromising safety. Why it works. People often throw food away when it passes a best before date, even if it's still safe. Standardizing labels and adding freeze, buy or use soon prompts reduces unnecessary waste and makes redistribution easier. 5. Food sharing and rescue platforms. Too Good to Go connect consumers with surprise rescue bags from restaurants and grocers at closing time. It had already saved 200 million meals globally by March 2023 and has expanded rapidly since. Olio mobilizes neighbors and volunteers to collect and redistribute surplus food from stores and households. By July 2025, it reported 120 million meals rescued. Why it works? Friction matters. Easy, low-cost redistribution turns last-hour surplus into dinner. Circular solutions for unavoidable scraps. Even in the best-run system, inedible parts and preparation scraps remain. The question is, what you do next? First, feed people. EPA ranks surplus donation as more environmentally beneficial than turning food into compost or energy. In 2024, EPA updated its hierarchy into the wasted food scale, but the top priority remains. Prevent waste and, if edible, feed people first. Feed animals where safe and permitted. Bioconvert with insects. The EU now authorizes insect proteins, for example, black soldier fly, in pig and poultry feed. Research shows strong potential to upcycle food biowaste into high-quality feed and fertilizer. Regulations still restrict what substrates insects can be fed, but the door is open and science is advancing. Anaerobic digestion and composting. When food isn't fit for people or animals, digest it to capture biogas or compost it to recycle nutrients back to soils. EPA's updated ranking reflects new science across these pathways. Why it works. This hierarchy cuts methane, recovers energy and nutrients, and keeps carbon in circular loops rather than in the sky. Policy that changes the math. France. Don't destroy edible food. In 2016, France passed a pioneering anti-waste law, forbidding supermarkets from destroying edible unsold food and requiring donation agreements with charities. In 2020, the AGEC law strengthened penalties and extended obligations to mass catering and food manufacturers, while codifying a prevention-first hierarchy. South Korea policy is pay-as-you-throw, plus RFID bins. This policy started in the 1990s and accelerated after 2013. South Korea introduced volume-based fees and RFID-enabled smart bins for food scraps, building a norm of meticulous separation. By 2019, estimates suggest around 95% of food waste was being recycled, an oft-cited global benchmark tied to clear pricing signals and infrastructure. California, USA. Mandatory edible food recovery. Under SB 1383, large Tier 1 generators, for example, supermarkets had to have donation contracts by January 1, 2022. Tier 2 generators, for example, large restaurants, hotels, followed by January. The law also sets edible food recovery targets to prevent landfill methane and improve food security. Japan. National Law and Progress Tracking. Japan's Act on Promotion of Food Loss and Waste Reduction took effect October 1, 2019, formalizing a nationwide movement across ministries, MO, MAF, CAR, and sectors. Japan pairs legal frameworks with public campaigns and business reporting to drive down waste across the chain. Australia, having by 2030. Australia's National Food Waste Strategy commits to have food waste by 2030. and is coordinated nationally through End Food Waste Australia, formerly Stop Food Waste Australia, which brings businesses together under practical roadmaps and sector plans. Why policy works? It aligns incentives, creates markets for surplus donation, rescue, feed, energy, and normalizes measurement so solutions scale beyond pilots. Upcycling, turning waste into value. Upcycling converts byproducts or surplus into higher value foods and ingredients. To bring credibility, the Upcycled Food Association launched the Upcycled Certified Standard, currently the only third-party certification for upcycled foods, so consumers and buyers can trust claims. Emerging life cycle assessments suggest upcycled ingredients can lower product footprints compared to conventional counterparts, depending on the product and process. Examples span cacao, pulp beverages, spent grain flours, and fruit pill snacks. They work best when they supplement prevention and rescue, not replace them. The economics. Cutting waste pays. For businesses, the return on investment for food waste reduction is compelling. A global meta-analysis by the World Resources Institute found a median 14:1 benefit-cost ratio across hundreds of companies. Savings from avoided purchasing, hauling, labor, and energy typically dwarf the cost of measurement and process change. The IKEA case above shows those savings at scale, with tens of millions of meals and dollars saved in just a few years by instrumenting kitchens and acting on the data. What households can do, and why it matters. Because households account for the largest share of waste globally, everyday practices add up. Plan meals and shop with a list. Buy realistic quantities. Store food for longevity. Know when to refrigerate, freeze, or keep dry and dark. Understand labels. Use by is about safety. Best before about quality. If it's past best before, assess with your senses and storage history. If it's past use by, don't risk it. Rescue locally with apps like Too Good To Go and Olio, or donate shelf-stable items through food banks that accept them. Compost, or use organics collection if available, better than landfill. But remember, the highest best use is eating the food, or sharing it. Putting it together, a systems playbook. 1. Prevent at the source. Prioritize better forecasting, smarter promotions, portion right-sizing, and clear labeling. This reduces purchasing, storage, and labor costs while freeing capacity. 2. Make measurement habitual. Adopt a Target Measure Act cadence. The UK roadmap and new US national strategy provide templates and technical assistance. 3. Build the rescue rails. Sign donation agreements as France and California mandate in parts of the chain. Connect to local food banks and integrate last-hour markdowns and rescue apps into store ops. 4. Close the loop for scraps. Where edible outlets are exhausted, route to animal feed, insect bioconversion, anaerobic digestion, or compost, in that order of environmental preference. 5. Use policy and procurement. Cities and companies can require organics diversion, edible food recovery, and transparent reporting in contracts. With price signals, for example, pay-as-you-throw fees, and infrastructure smart bins. Separate collection, households respond. South Korea's experience shows what's possible. A hopeful arc. The food waste crisis can feel overwhelming. Billions of meals, trillions of dollars, gigaton-scale emissions. But the solutions are mature, scalable, and cost-positive when deployed together. Countries are enacting smart laws. Businesses are proving that data plus design can have waste. Communities are rescuing meals at unprecedented scale. If we measure honestly, act on the biggest hotspots, and ensure that edible surplus feeds people first, we can flip the script from a leaky food chain to a circular, resilient food system that nourishes communities and stabilizes the climate. That imagined world. It's already taking shape. One policy, one kitchen, one neighborhood rescue at a time. The global food waste crisis is enormous, but so are the solutions. From smarter farming and storage, to apps that rescue meals, from stronger laws to everyday choices in our kitchens. The tools to cut waste in half are already in our hands. Imagine a world where surplus food nourishes communities instead of landfills, where scraps fuel clean energy, and where every bite is valued. That world isn't far away. It's being built right now, by innovators, policymakers, and people like you. Together, we can transform waste into opportunity, hunger into hope, and food into the powerful force it was always meant to be, a source of life, not loss. The question is no longer can we do it, the question is, will we? And if this video was informative, inspiring, or gave you hope, don't forget to share it with someone who cares about food, the planet, or simply making a difference. Like, comment, and subscribe for more science-driven solutions that are reshaping our future. Because change starts with awareness, and awareness starts with you.